Welcome to Baggies Out. Today we are back in Indianola, Iowa for Flight 4, the final flight of the 2023 National Balloon Classic. That's Karen Wells and I'm Dieter Handbicke. Coverage of this event is presented by our wonderful patrons.
Today we have tasks 11 through 14. Our first task is a minimum distance double drop, followed by a JDG, which is a judge declared goal, another JDG, and final task, a JDG.
A minimum distance double drop is two baggies thrown in two different triangles measured to the center of an X between them. Lowest cumulative distance between the inbounds baggies wins. Here on the screen we have the leaderboards going into this flight. Nick Donner in first place, Rhett Herzl in second, and John Petrin in third, with Dominic Bareford and Paul Petrin in fourth and fifth, respectively. Now, task 11 is going to be a variation on a regular minimum distance double drop, where the two triangles are in two different fields, where the X's are also the judge-declared goals for tasks 12 and 14.
At this first field, where you'll see the balloons dropping in, they will be dropping two different baggies. The first will be into a triangle, the first of the minimum distance double drop, followed by the X, which is the first judge-declared goal. First up, you see here Chris Cliver, first baggie out.
Already through the white baggie, which is the minimum distance double drop, and this yellow one to the X. Chris Cliver, our first pilot over the task, getting 69 feet, as Dom Bareford coming over this target. Coming over these targets, I should say. You can see one baggie already being thrown, not wound up as we sometimes see these pilots do. That looked like it was going to be right barely on the edge of the triangle. Where's that second baggie? Should be seeing it. Dom did throw from a little bit of an elevation, but 37.21 feet away from the center of that X.
First baggie is going to be white, the one meant for the triangle. The second for the X is going to be yellow. Ken Walter throwing now.
You can see that first white baggie going. That one looks like it's going to be out of bounds. Both baggies for the minimum distance double drop need to be within the triangle to score, as Ken Walter, 254 feet.
Next up, we have Dr. Bill Bussey, banner 5-6. Approaching the target, you can see he has a navigator with him. Navigator is there to help the pilot and guide them and give them winds to get them to the prospective targets.
A little bit of a wind-up there. Just the yellow baggie, 207.46 feet out for Dr. Bill Bussey.
Here we have Al Appenzeller, banner 100, baggie out, first toss.
And the wind seeming pretty calm at the moment. It's not moving that baggie too much. Ooh, I don't think that's going to be within the bounds of the triangle. We'll see if this one is going to be scored. Yep, 143.17 feet to the center of the X. Next up, Richard Sabin, venting a bit to drop down into this target. See what he's going to be able to do with it. Burning to fill up the balloon.
You can see baggie in
descent.
hand there.
You can see the descent, also that banner kind of flipping up as the balloon falls. Burning to stop the descent. There's that first baggie, still from a decent elevation. That one looks like it may still be in bounds of that triangle. And let's see if we see that second baggie, the yellow one, 41.17 feet for Richard Sabin.
Here we have Johnny Petrin, banner 7-6, with his descent into the target.
Moving a little bit quicker. See what he's going to be able to do. Leaning out, just getting rid of that baggie. Ooh, that's looking really close to the tip. Not wanting to go out, but 3 feet on that X. Very good score there for Johnny Petrin.
Bill Smith coming in next. Oh, first baggie. Second baggie. 3.21 for task 12 for Bill. Great job, Bill.
And there you can see a really quick layer right on the deck as 3 pilots now coming across this target. This one in the blue is going to be Joe Herzl and Al Nels in that green balloon here on the screen.
Behind them off screen is Grant Pfeiffer with the baggie that you just saw in between them, and both baggies out for Grant up high.
And there's Grant, and that was the first one for Joe as well. Al Nels getting 33. Joe Herzl 25 feet for that JDG is Rhett Herzl, Joe Herzl's son, coming in here.
Here's the windup.
That should be within bounds for that MDD, the minimum distance double drop, and a baseball throw. Really good throw, 4.25 feet for Rhett.
Behind Rhett, we have Jeremy Rubin, banner number 5. First baggie right there at the point of the X, and 2.38 for Jeremy.
And there
for
you
the
can
JDG.
really see on the deck, this is moving quite quick now. That wind pushing Jeremy across as Tom Rickey. Next one across. Getting both baggies out. The white one looked within bounds. The yellow, 68.54 feet.
Here we see Patrick Cloyd, banner 62.
A little bit higher up.
You can see Patrick looking at the back side of the basket before he threw that white baggie.
Looks in bounds. And 37.33 there for the JDG for Patrick Cloyd.
Here comes Steve Jones with the windup.
Getting that one in bounds. And another one. Ooh, very good throw. 3.33 feet for Steve Jones. And now Zarek Wells and Lucas Herzl back to back. Zarek really winding this one up.
Lucas with the throw behind Zarek. Zarek with a much longer windup and the toss.
Zarek getting that one in as Lucas looked like he dropped his second baggie, and now both throwing. Zarek getting 7.08 feet and Lucas with 8.5 feet. That is one of the difficulties of these faster winds on the surface, is if you drop a bag or you can't figure out where you place it, you only have a couple of seconds to find it. As Blake Aldrich, next pilot across. Valid score there on the triangle. So we should see that second baggie, and there it is. 35 feet for Blake.
Here we have Aaron Gebhardt, banner 45, coming across right above the deck.
Now that really quick layer. Here, that first one. And the second one, good throw on that JDG. 3.17 feet for Aaron Gebhardt. Now Paul Petrin right behind Aaron. And just a little bit of a toss. That white baggie right on the edge. That should be a good score for the MDD. Hopefully he gets the other one as Paul getting 6 feet on that JDG as well.
Brett Christian next, banner 37. You can see the baggie in hand. Here's the windup. You can see that second baggie he's holding in his mouth, ready to go as soon as he's releasing this first baggie.
Yeah, but he starts a little bit faster of a windup here, trying to get that streamer to kind of wind up all the way. It really lessens the wind resistance, so you can get a much further throw. As he should be getting that second one ready as well.
A slower windup. You can see as he gets closer, he should pick up that speed on that wind. And baggie out.
It is falling. That should be a decent score. 27 feet for Brett Christians. Brandon Bloom. Ooh, that one's going to be right on the edge. I don't know if that's going to be in.
You can see him winding up that tail before he threw. Great throw, Brandon. 1.38 feet.
That will probably be the throw to beat.
Here we have Joe Zavada, banner 99.
Coming in over these targets. Needs to beat that 1.38. Or tie it. There is that first throw. Ooh, also right on the edge. Looks to be inbound, and that JDG throw of 21.04 feet.
Here we have Aaron Folsky, banner 58, coming in. He flies the Hummingbird balloon.
Dropping that balloon in, you can see right around the throat when you pull the red line, it closes in a little bit And then once you add more heat, you can see it filling out. So there's that first throw, and the second one, 2.21 feet.
You can see a lot of time the pilots will have that baggie in their mouth. They have one hand on the burner and one hand on the red line and ready to go as soon as they cross over the target. Alan Anderson here, first baggie into the triangle, second baggie for the X.
Already climbing out of these targets, Alan Anderson, 16.92 is Nick Donner screaming across this. But a really good throw for both of them, 4.92 feet for Nick Donner.
We can see the surface wind starting to pick up as more pilots cross this target. We'll see what that does to these throws as it progresses.
A good throw there for Mark Harris on that MDD. And 21.17 feet. Next up, Joe Seymour winding up. There's
First
that
baggie?
yellow one. I didn't see that first one, but 11.04 feet for Joe Seymour.
Here we have Chris Reinhardt, banner 16.
Yep, getting... Ooh, that was a good throw. 6.92 for Chris Reinhardt. As
Now
we see two different kind of approaches, some of these pilots are throwing from up high, and some are coming in a little bit closer. As Andrew Nels, it looks like that first baggie might have actually bounced out of the inbounds area. But the next one, 13.72 feet, is Rob Nutting. Next one across. Baseball throw. It's going to be 7.71 feet for Rob.
Here we have Benji Clemens coming across the triangle now. As they come across the center of this triangle, they have to decide how much are they willing to risk, or are they willing to risk possibly throwing it out of bounds to get that corner, that closest point, or would they rather play it safe and play it throw it a little farther back in the triangle?
It's Benji Clemens. Ooh, that one looks maybe out of bounds as well. It'll be close, but 16.75 on the JDG is Andrew James, number 88 in that triangle basket, and Jeremy King in that yellow, blue, and green right behind. Andrew James, that first baggie good. Second one, 11.88 feet. It's Jeremy King. Two baggies, 2.88 feet. Really good throws as these pilots are now coming fast right across these targets.
Here's Scott Armstrong, banner 27. First baggie out right there in the tip. Oh, great score, Scott. 3.67 feet for Scott Armstrong. Corey Balloon approaching the target now. You can hear that wind coming through our speakers, starting to pick up right here.
Corey Bloom, 243 feet, looks pushed quite a ways away from us as Todd Isley going for it. Good throw, should be inbounds.
And a wind up here.
25.75 feet. Throwing maybe a little bit late on that one.
Jason Hartson.
So you can see them pulling this red line, trying to make sure that their ascent out of this maybe is slowed a little bit. So that is the first throw. Looks good. And the second one, 9.25 feet. So we're seeing a lot of our field of competitors throwing on both of these targets. Should be a good scoring day.
Here we have Troy Animus.
All right, we see the baggie in Troy's hand. Going right for that edge, looks like it.
And inbounds.
Yeah, very good, and 10.08 feet for Task 12, that JDG. It's Jason Jones.
Coming in up high.
See if they decide to throw from this altitude, and it looks like they will. The wind's taking it a bit, but doesn't look like it's pushed it too far. And 25.29 feet there for Jason Jones.
Dale Domer, number 15. You can see baggie in hand.
We'll see. It's most likely just going to be a little bit of a toss, based on how I think he's holding it. Oh, he's actually just going to drop it right there.
Looks to
and
be
the
in
yellow.
bounds.
25.2 or 0.33 feet for Dale Domer.
Here we see Michael Jones, banner 69, venting to drop down closer to the deck. And actually stall an ascent before those baggies are thrown. First baggie is out.
Looks to be valid. little bit further back. And the second bag, 63.79 feet for task 12.
Todd Hasty, banner 90, coming across the target now.
See.
Todd flying with a navigator. As we mentioned before, those are the ones that are going to help you get to the target, give you the wins, and help you make sure that you're throwing at the best time for the best score.
There is the target, or in the triangle for the first one, and the second one, 7.08 feet. Todd getting that, and here we can see our scoring officials. That is going to be all of the baggies thrown. The scoring officials with that tape measure to a nail in the center of the X, measuring each individual baggie and writing down the scores. And here are the results for task 12. Brandon Bloom in first place with 1.38 feet, 1,000 points. Aaron Folsky in second with 2.21 feet, 993 points. And in third place, Jeremy Rubin with 2.38, 992 points. As we move into task 13, this is going to be a judge-declared goal by itself. These pilots will only need to throw one baggie into this field.
This target is a gravity drop. What that means is pilots must keep their hands inside the basket when they release the baggie. That ensures that the pilot has a more accurate flight coming over the target in order to get the best score.
And this is a 300-foot MMA, which means that 300 feet is the furthest out from the center of the X that pilots are able to get a valid score.
First into this target, we have Ken Walter. Again, this is the gravity drop, so he cannot throw that marker. He has to drop it from the basket.
As you can see, it's dangling over the edge. Looks like it's going to be a really good pass for him either way. 29.67 for Ken.
If only I could have thrown it.
Next up, we have John Shelton, banner 89.
It looks to be much higher above the ground here. See if they want to drop this from elevation. And they did there, 111.75 feet for John.
Even if you throw your baggie far out in the scoring area, a score is still going to be better than no score.
So we now have Dr. Bill Bussey.
Baggie is out. 196.08 for Dr. Bussey.
It looks like at this target, right on the tree line as Al Appenzeller comes in, these balloons are not moving as fast as we are seeing at the end of task number 12. We'll see. Al Appenzeller, baggie is out. It's going to be 78.75 feet.
Here we have Edward Gordon, banner 44, coming into the target. Baggie is out, hanging over the side of the basket. Not released yet.
We'll see what they want to do. Just these short burns makes it look like they're just maintaining this altitude. Either climbing nor descending as the baggie is dropped. And on the edge of the field, 168.67 for Edward Gordon.
Here's Richard Sabin.
Again, quite high on that altitude. What that really tells me is these pilots are seeing a wind layer that they don't want to drop down to get pushed to the side on this middle task in the sequence and miss this third task entirely as Richard Sabin drops their baggie, going for a mediocre score instead of a really good one. But Richard Sabin there going to be super happy with that 30.08 from that altitude.
Here we have Brandon Bloom, Brett Christian. Brandon Bloom in the blue. And Brett behind with the yellow.
Both baggies are dropped. Brandon Bloom, 21.83 as Brett Christensen gets 187.75.
Here's Joe Zavada in the yellow, white, black, and silver balloon. Dropping in much lower than those we've seen.
There we can really see that wind on the deck, 27.67 for Joe Zavada.
Joey Strutz in behind Joe Zavada.
Deciding not to drop in. But there is the baggie being dropped. A little bit further out, 124.71 feet for Joseph.
Here we have Aaron Folsky in the Hummingbird balloon. You can see the baggie hanging over the side of the bolster.
You can see the wind already kind of taking it. It's going to be dropped. Decent score, 69.25 for Aaron Folsky.
Alan Anderson in the Kubitschek balloon. Baggie over there, you can see it out the bottom of the basket. One hand on the burner and one hand on the baggie.
And dropping in very low to this target. Going to stop that descent. 50.42 for Alan Anderson.
And clear the trees on the way out to the final task.
Read that descent really well. Nick Donner, the next one, and also dropping into this field. So that should be a good pass for Nick. Right between the legs of the X. 18.21 feet for Nick.
Johnny Petrin.
Having a decent week so far. Johnny Petrin. Going to have a good drop. 75.92. And climbing out.
Here we have Grant Pfeiffer.
So we are seeing the majority of kind of the pack of balloons getting to this target now. Grant. Going to drop that. Ooh,
All right.
Right on the fabric of the X, 19.33 feet. On the fabric doesn't mean anything, but definitely is closer. Is Joe Hartzell, that red and blue balloon, 86.54.
Here's Rhett Herzl.
Right over our cameraman. Might not be that good of a pass here. May still be within the bounds of the field here. See where they decide to drop it. To be right there. 88.38. Now Patrick Cloyd coming in. Basically right behind Rhett.
On the tree line, it looks to be.
109.46 as Zarek Wells, the next balloon to come in, dropping that one decently, trying to burn out that descent. 61 feet is Lucas Hartzell right behind Zarek for the second task in a row. Deciding not to drop in as much, getting 54.25.
Rob Johnson, banner 41.
And there you can see that black balloon, the helium one, that is called a fish, as Rob Johnson drops their baggie, 149.17. A fish is just a helium balloon on a string, but the crew throw that up, and it can show the pilots where the wind is on the surface. Is Jeremy King, 48 feet, excuse me.
Here we have Eric Martins with a baggie out.
From quite an altitude. See what the wind does with it. Ooh, that one's going to be out of bounds into the tree line.
If baggies aren't retrieved, pilots may either pay $20 or I hear they can pitch in beer or soda if they can't find their baggie.
And the results for Task 13, Nick Donner in first place with 18.21 feet, 1,000 points. Grant Pfeiffer in second with 998 points, and Brandon Bloom in third with 994, 21.83 feet. As we move into our final task of the competition, Task 14, this will be very similar to the same setup as Task 12, where the other half of the minimum distance double drop and a JDG are in the same field.
This is a free micro drop, meaning they can wind up and throw the baggie or baseball throw it, or however they want to get it as close to the center of the X as well as in that second triangle. First up, we have Chris Cliver.
And there is that first baggie, the white one. I believe that is for the minimum distance double drop, task 11. And task 14, that JDG, 28.67 for the JDG. And 158.88 feet for task 11 for Chris Cliver.
Here we have Dom Bareford.
Coming in, dropping into this target. See what they're going to be able to do. Hopefully we get more scores on this minimum distance double drop than we got on the last flight, where we only had a handful. But it seems like the weather's a little bit better on this flight. We'll see if that cooperates, if people's throws are better. Get more scores, which we're always a fan of here. Dom starting to wind up. Just a little bit of a toss. 3.04 feet for that JDG. That's going to be a very good score. An 85.71 on the minimum distance double drop. Both of those are going to be fairly good scores, if I'd have to guess.
Here comes John Shelton right behind Dom. Dropping in. And the wind up.
There is that first baggie. 6.88 feet for that JDG, for that X.
Next up, the minimum distance, 199.08 for John. Here's Dr. Bussey.
Coming a little quick over this target. You can see this first baggie being wound up. Just a little bit. Deciding maybe to hold on. And there it is. Baggie is out. 93.67 feet for the X. And out of bounds, one of the two baggies did not make it into the triangles for Dr. Bill Bussey.
Here's Al Appenzeller. Nice wind up.
That one should go far. Well, deciding to stop, and that should be a good toss. And that first wind up is going to be 249.5 feet on that X and out of bounds once again on that minimum distance double drop.
Here we see Edward Gordon, banner 44.
All right, and there's that first baggie. 132 feet onto the X.
And for task 11.
There we see that baggie coming down. Ooh.
217.38 for that minimum distance.
Here, Brandon Bloom stopping that descent, coming into this target. Burning fairly aggressively there, and a wind up. Task 11, that minimum distance double drop, 108.67. And then the X, 55.33 feet.
And they can throw those baggies in any order. It doesn't have to be the triangle and then the X. You can do the X and then the triangle, whichever is best for your approach.
Joe Zavada, both baggies out. 94.54 for that minimum distance double drop, and 26 for the X. Now Joey struts. Two more balloons right behind him.
Let's see what Joey does.
A little bit of a wind up. Looks like they were hoping for the winds to take it. 60.58 feet for the X. And 211.58 there for the minimum distance.
Here's Johnny Petrin and Bill Smith.
And it looks like a third baggie as well, but that might have been Johnny Petrin's second bag. Johnny is going to get 41.75 on that X. Bill Smith getting 122.42 on the X as well.
Patrick Floyd dropping into the target now.
So we can see the balloon behind them dropping in as well, but Patrick There's the first baggie, 17.42. I think that's the lowest score we've seen so far, in 93.83. That's going to be very close to first as well.
Here we have Joe Seymour winding up from up high. White baggie is out.
37.38 on the X and 342, or 94, excuse me, 0.17 on the minimum distance double drop. There's that first baggie, which I believe is blue on the X for Andrew Nels. And the second one, it's 161 on the X and out of bounds.
Here we have Benji Clemens. First baggie is out.
Benji dropping that balloon. Looked like they almost overtook the baggie. 42.08 on that X. And unfortunately out of bounds on the triangles. Minimum distance double drop.
Scott Armstrong next. Here's the windup.
Really winding that one up too.
And a good
it's
toss.
That is the difficulty with the minimum distance double drop, is you need to get both scores in, and if you can get too greedy with it, that's 103.17 on the X and 370 on the minimum distance double drop. But you can get too greedy, and if you go too close to the center of the X trying to go, or the point of the triangle trying to go for a better score, it can be out of bounds and you get no points. So you have to balance your throwing abilities, your flying abilities with getting points. Leroy Claire out of bounds on the triangles, unfortunately, there.
Here we have Christine Birch with a windup. First baggie in 130.50 feet.
That second baggie.
And 273.63 for that minimum distance.
And here's task 11 results. Dom Bareford in first with 85.71, 1,000 points. Patrick Cloyd in second with 93.83 feet, 995 points. And Joe Zavada in third with 994 points. And here are the task 14 results, that final judge declared goal. Dominic Bareford, once again, in first place with 3.04 feet, 1,000 points. John Shelton in 6.88, 994 points. And Patrick Cloyd, 17.42 with 979 points. And here are the overalls after all flying has been done. In fifth place, Patrick Cloyd with an average of 851. In fourth place, Joe Zavada moving up 5 positions after this last flight with 861 as an average. In third, Dominic Bareford, 869 as an average. In second place, Rhett Herzl, maintaining second throughout with 882. And first place, your National Balloon Classic 2023 winner, Nick Donner.
Congratulations, Nick.
Congratulations to all of our winners and all of our pilots. Thank you for watching Baggies Out so that you don't miss our next event. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you liked this content, be sure to share it with your friends and sign up for our Patreon so we can continue to make these videos for you. The link is in the description. If you're interested in sponsoring a video, write your contact on a baggie, wind it up, and whip it into our website. Until next time, see you at the launch site.